Imagine that you are on the street, and this suddenly happens. This is something that we're related in Mexico. Doesn't happen to you or one of your members of your family. Last month, one of my uncles was shot on the leg. He almost died, but when one of his workers arrived to the scene, he didn't know what to do because he never treated a bullet wound. And save a person from a bullet wound needs of pressing the bleeding, covering the bleeding, and calling the 911. Starting with pressing the bleeding, we have to do this for stop the bleeding for a certain time. But by doing this, as I mentioned before, we have to stop the bleeding by doing the pressure. And if you thought that you can have a good pressure on it, don't be afraid of using your knee. At least using your knee gives more pressure because you're using your own weight. And starting with doing pressure, we have to find where the bullet wound. If we apply the pressure on the wrong side, we're not going to stop the bleeding. At least there's a technique for doing the pressure. We have to use both of the hands and do this. One goes up to another. We don't have to close to doing the pressure. We have to do this for stop the pressure. But as I mentioned before, if you think that you're not doing a good pressure, you can use your knee. And passing by to the next step, you have to cover in the bleeding. By covering the bleeding, there's more chance for you to stop the bleeding. And at least this is more important to do because if there's blood coming out through the bullet wound, you might stop at that moment. And of course, we have to find where's the bleeding, and then we have to treat it. But there's some materials that we can use for stopping the bleeding. We can use a gauze, a towel, or any dressing that you have at the moment, or any dressing that the person who was shot have at the moment. If you're using a towel or any dressing, you have to put it up into the bullet wound and doing the pressure as we see in the first step. And if you're using a gauze, it's the same process. But by losing the blood because of the bullet wound, it's starting to getting wet, and you only have to fold it in if the case is a towel or a dressing. You have to fold it in. Don't take it away because the pressure that you're doing, and if you take it away, all the blood is coming out more heavily. At least you have to fold it in and start doing the pressure as much as you can do. And it's the same case for using a gauze. If you're using a gauze, just add another on the top of the other one. At least we have to call the 911. We want the medical attention because there's professionals to treat a bullet wound. And treating a bullet wound is something that we risk on life and death. And there's something called the golden hour. This means the first hour that the person that was shot arrives to the hospital. The percent of being alive to the person is 95%. After that hour, the percentage is less. If you see that the medical treatment doesn't arrive on time, you have to take the person as soon as possible to the hospital. You can take it on the car. If you don't have a car, you can ask any driver, or you can ask to a taxi to take the person to the hospital as soon as possible. And as we have seen, saving a person from a bullet wound requires pressing on the bleeding, covering the bleeding, and calling the 911. At least I want to end this by something that my cousin who is in the United States Army told me about treating a bullet wound. Gunshots is one of the common ways that soldiers are wounded. And save a soldier is vital to winning a war and defend our nation. And the importance of controlling a bleeding from a bullet wound is the difference between life and death.